So Ray, it's 1 week before you enlisted. What is going through your mind and why?
A week before I enlisted, that's a good question. That's a deep question too. I was a week out. I was writing my mother a letter about my childhood. I was always put down, always told I was nothing. And I remember it was a couple days before. I don't know if it was a week or not, but I wrote my mother a long, heartfelt message of that I wasn't a loser. I was going to amount to something, and that my goal was to be a Navy SEAL, and that I would have her come to my graduation, both at boot camp and at Buds. And guess what? She did. So
Wow.
I paid for it. She came out, and I showed her that I wasn't the person that she thought I was. I could actually amount to something.
And that was after 6 months of doing buds?
No, this was actually before boot camp. Boot camp was, I went to boot camp in Great Lakes.
Okay.
3 years later, I showed up and went to Buds. So there was a journey for me to get to Buds. And the reason that people need to understand, and we've talked about the non-negotiable, is you have to take academic tests to become a SEAL.
Okay.
The physical stuff I got. That I can run through walls, I can do that stuff. That's great. But that's my comfort zone. The mechanical, in order to take this test, it's called an ASVAB test, you have to get these combined scores or something. And the one thing that got me was the mechanical. So, an example, if you have a train going 90 miles an hour east and one going 70 miles an hour west, when do they collide? I don't know. I've never been on a train before. It was questions like this that I bombed. And that's where, from the hard childhood growing up to who I am now, I bombed the ASVAB, bombed it. I wasn't even close. And they were like, you need to go back to the drawing board. And I did. So I did my stuff. I kept my head up high. I studied. I took it again. A year later, 1 point I missed it by. 1 point. Everybody told me to quit. You're never going to amount to it. It's not your calling. So that time I asked for some help. I spoke to,
You sought out a mentor?
I did. I sought out a mentor. What it was I was doing really good. The regular Navy, I got to tell people, if you show up, you have your uniform squared away, you do what you're told, the regular Navy is the easiest thing, the military, that you can do. It's structured. I love structure. I like having a plan. But when I studied, I went as far as I could mentally and academically. I needed to reach inside myself and say, you know what, it's time to ask for help. And I had the mindset, but the problem with me with growing up is I've always been arrogant. I've been selfish because I've always felt, I've always run with the athletes and the jocks, and I've kind of stood out. But there was that turning point in my life where that right there was very critical, where I said, I can't do this on my own.
So was that almost in a sense a breaking point of your ego a little bit to open up a more curious, open-minded, because you seem extremely open-minded and very
I am.
curious.
I wasn't always.
Was it that moment?
Between that moment and the time that I looked in the mirror, I go back to when I was in college, when it's a drill that I do now where you look in the mirror and you have to assess who you are. I looked in the mirror and I didn't like who I was. When you look in the mirror, you should see yourself. Well, I looked in the mirror. I had a very rough childhood growing up with a father who was very violent and was, the list goes on and on. And when I looked in the mirror, I was 17 years old. I didn't see me, I saw him. That moment and the moment that we're talking about right now are probably two of the most defining moments in my life that not only broke me, but they built me. They made me become humble and become appreciative of who I am and what I've accomplished.
That moment in the mirror, you're in your late teens.
Yes, sir.
Was this before enlistment?
This was before enlistment. This was the defining moment that told me I had to find another avenue. Father was murdered. I was going down this path, and the path was leading me dark. Fighting, drinking, drugs. I was doing all these horrible things. And finally one night, I don't know what did it. I remember I still lived with my mother. I looked in the mirror and it felt like it was an eternity. I looked in the mirror, it felt like it was 20 minutes, and I just said, what are you doing? And I call it cold turkey. I quit cold turkey. I said, no more. And I made the decision that I was going to join the military. I joined the military 3 weeks later, as in that's unheard of. I don't mean like I processed. I mean the next day I left college, I went to the recruiter and I said, I need a change. And he's like, what's going on? And I said, I am my own worst enemy, mentally, physically. I'm abusing myself. I'm doing this and doing that. I didn't tell him about the drugs. I just said I had a drinking issue. and they said, you know what, we see something in you, we want you, come on out. You know, I told them my goal is to be a Navy SEAL. I said, we can do it. And I signed the paperwork, and I never looked back, you know.
When you were in high school, going to college, did you think that you were going to go a business path or a corporate path or some kind of work path? What were you studying in
You know,
school?
that's the problem.
Or was it
I didn't have
you
a
were
path.
checking a box?
I was just going through the motions. I didn't know. All I knew is I had a calling, and I was being drawn to something, and I didn't know what it was, you know. And I think all the chaos and turmoil and drinking, it actually made me, you know, I say we all have a shell. It broke that shell, and like I said, when I looked in the mirror, I remember it. I can't remember what I had for lunch probably a week ago, but I can remember that night when I looked in the mirror, like it was yesterday. I remember what I was wearing, and I just remember saying, "No more. You are not this man." And I broke out of my shell.
Did you grow up with siblings?
My mother remarried. I had a sister, and I still have a sister. I will call her my true sister, but obviously she's a stepsister. She's 8 years younger than me. We weren't very close, but I love her. So
When she remarried, did you move in with her?
yes,
Your stepfather?
my mother has actually been married. She's on her 4th marriage. My father was murdered. She married another gentleman. It didn't work out. She married another gentleman who was a complete and utter idiot, and now she's married to the right man, police officer,
God bless
retired LEO. Yeah.
That's
So definitely, you know, like I say, life's work in progress. Her marriages were work in progress, but she got, you know, me and my mother don't have a relationship. There's a lot of issues, underlining issues from my past. I remind my mother of my father, but me and my sister have a great relationship. So I try to maintain that, you know.
In school, when you were going to college, correct?
Yes.
Were you studying anything in particular?
I was going
to
I was going to a community college, and I was going to work on my associate's degree because, you know, I was paying for my own college, and I didn't want to just spend money frivolously on things that I didn't have. You know, I was working to pay for college. I was doing construction, and I was going through college, but it just wasn't a fit. You know, I was too busy with wanting to chase girls and do the wrong things instead of doing the right thing. But yet I'm sitting in the classroom with these people, and every single one of them are like, yeah, I want to be this, and I want to be this, and I want to be this. And like, what do you want to be? And I'm like, I just like being aggressive, and I like working out, and I like trying to do things that no one else can do. And you know, it's funny, I can't remember the book. I was looking at a pamphlet, and it was a pamphlet about Navy SEALs, and these guys, in my mind, were like 7 feet tall, and they could run through walls, and they were war heroes. And I've always loved my country. I've always had a love for my country. And I was like, and it was like just someone like, that's it. That's what I'm gonna do. And right out of the get-go, nothing changed. You know, I have a best friend, and this is a true story. I talk about it in all my YouTube things. His name's Bill Harmon. He's a bigwig over at Black & Decker. Master's degree, straight A, 4.0. He is the complete opposite of me, but we had that balance. We worked each other, and just it got along great. But he looked at me. We're sitting here talking. I said, Bill, I figured it out. I know what I'm going to do. And he's looking at me, and I said, I am going to be a Navy SEAL. And he just kind of looked at me for a second, looked away, looked back at me, goes, Ray, I just don't think you have what it takes to do that. And right there, I was like, you know, it's like throwing, you know, kerosene on the fire. I was like, really? And I told him, I said, I'll do one better for you. You're going to come out to my bud's graduation. And I tell you what, him and a young lady who's a good friend of mine, Megan, and my mother sat there. I told Admiral Smith, who was the Admiral of Buds, exactly what happened. He put him up in the front row, and when I shook the hands, I looked right at them all and was like, I did it. You know, which when you're shaking the Admiral's hand, you don't give a thumbs up, and it was cleared. And at that moment, I was like, I finally did it. You know, I finally proved all these naysayers wrong. Now, the good thing about Bill is I actually think now, when I look back, me and Bill talked about it, he actually said he did that because he knew that would light my fire. My mother, on the other hand, had doubt, didn't believe in me, just, you know.
The day that they were both there, were there other people as well that may not have believed that you would have made it, and you were able to prove them wrong in a sense?
Pretty much every single person I know.
What's the next fleeting moments after that goes through your mind? Like, everyone's there, you proved everyone wrong, you've accomplished your goal. How did you feel?
Self-made. I felt at ease, I felt relief. I felt, for a moment, it was like this process to become a SEAL took me years to do. And I mean, I busted my ass. When everybody else was out chasing the girls, I wasn't. When everybody else was drinking, I wasn't. I was the one that was, I lived like 12 miles away. I would, instead of driving my car, I would ride my mountain bike in. I mean, my life was fitness. So I put about 3 years of my life into it. And it was just, that's where I came up with my equation, which is time plus effort equals results. If you put in
time plus effort
equals result. And what a lot of people do these days, and I'm sorry, but they put in piss poor time, as in, I want to be a millionaire tomorrow. Is that really realistic? No. You know what? What are you going to do? Are you going to get out there and hustle? Well, maybe tomorrow. They're procrastinating. And what do they get from that? They get a piss poor effort. So me, it was like, you know what? I am going to designate 3 years of my life. I'm not drinking. I'm not chasing. I mean, still had women in my life. I mean, let's not be. I'm not a monk, but sorry.
90-10 versus.
But yeah, 90-10. But I prioritized. That's where I learned how to prioritize. And that's where I came up with my F-bomb system, which is usually family, fitness, and finance.
Yeah.
And at the time, as I told you, as I've evolved, that has changed. They should all be the same. But back then it was fitness. And then it was, I really didn't have a family. Then it was, hey, just enough money to be able to train myself. And then the family was, I'm going to prove my family wrong. And I did. My sister believed in me. She was 8 years younger. You can do it. And, but a lot of success came from doing that. After I got out of the SEAL teams, things are really starting to take off. The movies, the TV shows, I'm trying to become a young entrepreneur.
Yeah. Which you are.
Middle-aged entrepreneur, maybe is the correct word.
You were, once you got through, and there's a very small percentage of people that actually make it through.
True.
What is the ballpark percentage?
Well, I can give you exactly. So, when Buds, if you start with your class to finish with your class, we call it an iron horse. Okay. So 136 original started, 16 of us made it, but 51 total graduated because the Buds class numbers are like, I was 200, so 199, 198, 197. People that got legitimately hurt and were good guys would get rolled into our classes. Okay. But start to finish, only 16 of us out of 100. So
very small percentage.
Very small.
Once you get through that, now what happens?
So you finish Buds, then you have to go through some other schools. There's a jump school you have to go through. I had to go through a 3-month diving school. I dove this little submersible underwater. That's 3 months right in Coronado. Then, and it's changed since then because I'm old school, you show up at your team and then you have to go through 3 months of, it's called SEAL Tactical Training, which is advanced explosives. That's when you're really learning. Buds is the teach you the basics. Basic underwater demolition is what it stands for.
Okay.
SEAL Tactical Training and all the other courses are the advanced applications.
When you train in these organizations, what does that look like? Is it 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, 5 days a week?
It would depend. Normal, like if you're jump school, it's I think you have Sundays off. But we're normally, you're turning and burning. Like SEAL STT, 7 days a week, probably 12 hours, if not more a day. You're turning and burning because when you accomplish that, then you have all the prerequisites to then go up to try to have your trident. The trident.
Okay, so what is a trident, and when did you get it? What age were you, and how long were you involved?
I was 20. I'm trying to think. I remember the day. Was it 23 or 24? I was 23 years old when I received my trident. 24. I was 24.
5 or 6 years in?
No. I was, from the military. Yeah, but the process to start took me from Buds to that was about 2 years. So I was 24 when I got my trident. And that's when it starts. And it's funny because everybody goes, "Oh, now you're a Navy SEAL." Well, guess what? That's when you have to, you're in a platoon. You're working.
Yeah, I would think if you started out of almost 200 people, only a few dozen get through. Then once the people that get through, how many Navy SEALs are there then? They're going
so at any certain time, ranks. There's only about 2,000 to 2,500 of us.
In the whole world?
So there's only been about 10,000 of us total.
In history?
Yeah, so what I always tell people is out of the 10, you get to sit beside one right now. No,
that's amazing.
We're a very small group. And there's other small groups out there too. SF.
That's culture.
That is culture. And it's a brotherhood. We talk about the brotherhood. Long live the brotherhood. It is.
What was it like being in that brotherhood? Because it says, you're the biggest commitment someone can make in the world is their life.
Yes. One word comes to mind with me, it's humbling, because I know that's kind of a generic answer, but being around people that, you know, and when you become a SEAL, you think you're the best of the best, but then you go and work with other guys who, I mean, Olympic athletes. I mean, we've had entrepreneurs worth hundreds of millions of dollars that gave it all up. That you name it, the best of the best shows up there. And then you got this Irish kid from Baltimore that shows up with no real special skill set except for I refuse to quit. Now I'm not saying I refuse to fail.
What's your difference in quitting and failure? A lot of people have an opinion about
Well,
that.
I'll give you an example. You know, I have a timeline. I want to make X amount of dollars. Okay, X amount of dollars, whatever it is. Let's say $1 million, and I want to make it in the next 3 to 5 years. Some people, when they get to 3 years, if they haven't made any headway, they're going to just say, you know what, screw this. I'm going to try something else. I don't believe in having a plan B. I just believe in having what I call the speed wheel. I have best, average, and worst case time because I refuse to fail. And again, think about it like this in business. If you have someone that fails at something, you give them a task and they fail, and they say, you know what, this is what just happened. I'm going to find another way. I have no problem with that. But when you have people that just like, you know what, I can't take the stress and I'm leaving. If they quit you once, they're going to quit you again. I agree with that. You know, I have never quit anything in my life.
Is that something that you've developed yourself
Yes,
on?
I developed it from a young age.
What age?
I probably would say with my childhood, I probably started acquiring this type of mindset at the age of probably about 8 years old, where I was just like, you know what, screw this, because no one else. In order to be successful, okay, and again, I'm talking to an entrepreneur. You have to. Again, I talk about the conquer mindset.
Yeah,
you have to conquer you. I have to conquer me. Be the master of me. Once I have conquered myself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially, whatever your pillars are, once you're that well-rounded warrior, then you can move on to the next thing. And for the longest time, I've mastered all of them except, and I'm calling myself out here, except for the financial. So now it's like, you know what? I've mastered these. What's so different? What's so different? So I'm shifting all my focus over, you know. I've got my gun. My gun's been aimed here. Now I'm like, no. I'm going to put it right here. Notice I didn't point that muzzle at you. But that's right. That's right. But my point is now it's time to go to work now. This is my new battle because every day in life we have battles. Everybody has a battlefield. You know, you may not be overseas, you know, holding a gun. It could be you're holding a pen. It could be you're a mother holding a child. I mean, everybody has a battlefield. You just have to learn how to come up with what I call a battle plan, and you have to execute. And you just, as long as I'm not quitting, I'm alive, I'm going to keep moving forward. You know?
So failing forward
Yes.
is the methodology.
It is.
Quitting is impossible.
It's impossible.
Are some of those understandings and that education, has that come from your time with the military?
Absolutely.
And the things that you've done for the betterment of the country?
Absolutely. The can-do attitude, the failing. I mean, the thing is, you know, in the movies it looks sexy, okay? But in the real world, missions go wrong. Things go wrong. But the thing is we don't just, I mean, oh, they're not here, let's go drink a beer. No, guess what? We are going to what I call max flex. We're gonna break off and we're gonna find them. We never stop. You know, of course that's exactly where I get that from. It's from being around individuals that have that same mindset. You know, we are our best and worst enemy, if that makes sense. Because
as individuals,
because we will do things. We will put our bodies through things. I have done things. I have run distances. I have swim things. I've dove underwater when it's snowing for 10 hours, so cold that it's taken me like 2 days to recover. And that kills cells in your body. But the point is we are so warped, and I hate to use that. I was programmed that we will not fail no matter what. You know, we do lose individuals from time to time, and that's tough. But we know that we've done everything humanly possible. I mean, we break barriers, and that's what it's about.
What you've been through and what you've overcome and conquered, does that have anything to do with this acronym that you've created for personal development called CONQUER?
It does.
Which I love, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's a heuristic device.
It is. All I did was, and you know, and again, maybe we have some avid shooters out there, is you have what's called 7 points of performance in order to be
camera shooters? No,
to be a proficient shot, right?
Okay.
So you have the grip, the stance, you know, follow through, trigger control. Bottom line is, in order to have the platform in your hand, let's say it's a pistol, in order to do everything right,
Okay.
okay? If you do everything right, once that round leaves the chamber, that round is all the hard work that you've put into. Now, if you are focused, okay, let's say the person I'm looking at right now is my target. I'm looking at my front and rear sight. And if I'm doing everything right, my front and rear sight is perfectly clear. The target is blurry. That target represents my goal or whatever it is I'm accomplishing in life. Once I squeeze that round off, that trigger leaves, if I've done everything right, my goal is to hit that target. Now, what I explained with the Conquer Mindset is we're not going to hit them, every time in the same spot, okay? Our goal is to hit the target. And then what we do is the R of Conquer is repetition.
Okay.
We're going to do it again and again and again. And our goal is to tighten that shot group. What we're doing is we're just getting honed in. We're getting
So
better
everything
and better.
before the R is just what leads up to the
Everything
shot.
leads to it,
That
yes.
makes sense.
Every single letter has a meaning.
What are they? What are they?
So for Conquer, the C is clock. And I tell everybody, it's about time management. It's about guarding your time, okay? Time is one of the most precious commodities we have. The O is the obligation. You have two obligations in life, two and two only: to believe in yourself and to trim the fat. You're not going to go anywhere. You have to believe that you're on this journey by yourself. Okay? Yes, you can pick your inner circles, pick your 5 people, but you and you
Take
alone.
responsibility.
Yes, control your destiny. Trim the fat. If they're negative people in your life, if they're taking and not giving, if there's not balance, cut them loose. I've learned that.
How has that added value to your life in the last?
It has made me. It's opened doors for me leaps and bounds, because the thing is like I said, you pick 5 people and you look at them, and you're going to be a direct reflection of who they are. So if you got people that are doing half-ass work, I'm sorry, and they're sitting on the couch and not doing anything, you're going to tend to go to that path.
Is that you actually living your values in a way I see with a lot of entrepreneurs. We met at an entrepreneurial event. I would think that your culture is also the brotherhood in the military.
It is.
So how did you cross-pollinate to entrepreneurs? And was that part of your values, is to think I got to get around these types of people? Or
Yeah, it is, because
two different...
the same thing. SEALs are the best in the business. The entrepreneurs that I'm surrounding myself with are the best in the business. You guys are the special forces of business, and I want to be that.
So that was your mindset.
That was my mindset, and it's like I've learned from the SEALs. Now I'm going to surround myself and learn. I'm learning from you and the Brads and the Bedroses and all the entrepreneurs, the Andys, all the people out there. I'm learning, and the thing is what I love about it is people that are in the positions that you guys are in. When you see somebody like me coming, it's funny. No one slammed the door in my face. They're like, it takes a little time, but they're like, wow. They see it, because a lot. I spoke to Brad. He's like, I see a lot of you and me. You're hungry. I told him there is nobody hungrier than me right now.
You're conquering.
I am
conquering. That's why I love so much.
But it's every day,
actually.
and it's baby steps. The end is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
End is non-negotiable.
What's that mean?
It means there's no plan B. No plan B. I am going to be successful in my pillars: mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, social. There is no timeline on that. I mean, I have a best, average, and worst case. I call it this. When I'm speaking, I call it the speed wheel. Okay. It's a device we use. If I have a boat on the ocean and I want to get from here to here, best case is we have no winds, flat seas, light boat. We're going to travel 22 knots.
Interesting.
But then when we add people in it, and we add wind, and we add waves, the weight disbursement, guess what? That 22 knots is going to turn into maybe 16 knots. We're not going to get there as fast. Now let's take worst case scenario. The engine dies. We get a hole in the boat. We got to patch it. We got people getting seasick. We might be only going 8 knots. My point is no matter what, I'm still going to get there.
Wow.
And that's what I tell people, because a lot of people, all they do is they go, in 8 months, I'm going to do this. And 8 months comes, they're like, I'm done. It didn't work. No. It just means go back to the drawing board. Find a way to get that boat going faster.
Those goals from 2016 are still crossed off, but in 2019.
Yep.
I was just looking the other day at old notepads.
Well, it's funny. People get on me. I'm one of the few guys. I don't believe in New Year's resolutions. I believe in a daily life resolution. Be the best you can be. That's what I believe in. These people, they use it. It's like Valentine's Day. It's a gimmick. It's not even a real damn holiday.
If you wait that long to give
it's not. It's what people do. They build themselves up on these false hopes that, and I'll use a perfect example. I'm at the gym with Jason Redman. Remember Jason? And
yeah.
We're at the gym in January 2, we're working out. The gym's packed. We can't even get in there. January 9, what do you think? It's crickets. It's the same people in there grinding every day. And it's like, you People are just like, they're trying to live out this fantasy. Pick what works for you. People do this with everything. And then the Q.
Yeah, because they're not conquering.
They're not conquering. They're getting their ass kicked.
What is the Q? Yeah.
Q is quit. And people go, wait, Navy SEALs, quit.
Okay.
Quit. But I've taken a negative and turned it into a
Yeah.
positive. And I tell people, it's a drill. You have to pick what you want to quit. For me, it was quit making excuses of why I'm not where I want to be. Quit being a bitch. Pardon my language.
Yeah.
Quit trying, and something else. Quit trying to emulate other people. Just because I surround myself with individuals who are successful, their formula and my formula may not work. I'm going to take, you'll see me when I'm taking notes, I'm learning from people. I just took some notes from, I'm checking all this out. That's what it's about. And I'm going to learn from these people. But his method and his approach may not work for me. And that's why I talk about mastering you. You have to figure out what works for you. But quit making excuses is probably the biggest one.
That was big for you.
Yes.
It's like there were reasons why. Maybe we all have something that we need to quit. Is the point of that.
The big one. Yeah. One of my bigger ones are coming up. U is unlock. Unlock is programming. Programming yourself for success. And people go, wait, I don't want to program. That's brainwashing. Yeah. When you cross the street, what do? You look both ways. Okay.
So good program.
Exactly. You're programming. A stove. My mother didn't. I don't think she put my hand on and burned my hands. She said hot, hot. We programming ourselves every day. But a lot of times, what's going on in the world and society is we're being programmed, but news is negative. It's a lot of negativity. I say no. I say, I'll give you a drill. Come up with a slogan, a motto for you. And I have one for me, and and my daughter has one. It's, I'm a winner, I'm a champion. Post-it note. Put it on your computer where you work, put it where you work, put it at your, I put it like in the morning where I have my coffee, and then I put it on, remember I talked about that mirror, that reflection?
Yeah, huge.
I put it on that mirror, and this is what I'll tell you. First thing you do when you get up in the morning is you look in that mirror, and you're going to start liking who you see, and you're going to say, I'm a winner and I'm a champion, right?
Do you know who said this recently? The #1 car salesman in the country. I interviewed him.
Who?
Frank Criniti.
Well,
he's a Lightspeed guy too.
Well, I hope,
you
Frank,
guys,
I'm not.
No, this is the culture.
And it's the last thing that I do before I go to bed. I even have drills, because the thing is when you're sleeping, your subconscious mind is always awake and it's always absorbing knowledge. So my thing is instead of watching the Golden Girls on TV, read something, stimulate the mind, get the brain going. Yeah. Me and my wife do this every night for 30 minutes. We read for the last 15 minutes or 10 minutes into it. We may just talk about something. We both go in the mirror and we say it. I'm a winner. My wife says I'm a winner. I'm a champion. Me, personally, mine is be great today. And I say this, and again, I'm a little more raw. Be a bitch tomorrow. People go, what does that mean?
What is that?
It means that I am going to do max effort and output today. And then when I get up tomorrow, I can relax and rest.
But then guess what? Never tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. It's never tomorrow because the first thing I do when I get up is I say the same thing. Be great. See, people are prolonging greatness. I'm prolonging failure. I'm prolonging rest. I'm going to rest when I'm dead. Until I meet my goal.
It's like you're tired. You're on that last rep or that last mile. You're going to tell yourself tomorrow.
Tomorrow I can rest. When I get up tomorrow and I'm sore and I'm tired and I'm mentally, physically. Tomorrow I can rest. Exactly. I'm going to get up and guess what? I got to do it again. And then I'm going to say the same thing. But that works for me. And I tell each person, there's no two people on earth that are alike. Figure out what works for you. And it cannot be, and this is the trick, and I know I'm talking to entrepreneurs here, it cannot be of monetary value. It's about you. About inside, from the inside out. I'm a go-getter. I'm a winner. Be positive. Something good about yourself. But the thing is you can't just say it. You gotta believe it. Like we said, you're obligated to believe and invest. You have to believe the hype. You've got to believe in yourself. E. You should know this. It's educate. Educate yourself. We talked earlier. I told you I went through about 30 years of my life where I wasn't reading anything. Just watching the news and watching TV and going through life, like we do.
What was the big breakthrough to start reading and...
Every single entrepreneur that I've talked to, most successful to the beginning, have all, it's funny, we all have the same message, and the first thing that every single one of them has told me is you have to read. And it's funny is the real entrepreneurs that are out there, a few of them, I'm not going to say who, could tell that I wasn't. They were like, you should be a little bit more up to speed with this. You know about guns, you know about explosives, but you don't know the first thing about ROI. You don't know the first thing about, and they're like, and you want to be an entrepreneur?
Learn the language.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
You know, if you're going to go to battle, you have to have the right tools. That's what was told to me, and I was like, you know what, you're right. So now, what do I tell people? And again, I know.
What's your process?
I read 20 minutes a day.
That's great.
I have a stack of books now.
Like paperbacks, hardcovers?
You name it.
Have you ever tried audiobooks?
When I'm in the car,
Okay.
that's what I'm doing. I stopped listening to I actually
Use Audible?
unsubscribed to my XM radio,
Okay.
and
Wow.
I have audio, and that's what I do, because I would get in there and I'd put on my Ozzy Osbourne or whatever it is,
Still good.
and I was, how much time do we spend in the car? Average person spends, thousand, if you're a businessman, you're in that car.
Yeah.
Majority
They
of
did
life.
a study.
Why not learn from it?
California State University. They did a study years
Yes.
ago. It was an hour a day over a 6-month period was equivalent to a couple semesters.
Exactly, and that
of
goes back
college.
to guarding your time. Time management. It's funny.
Right back to the beginning. Yeah.
And that's funny. Of all people, it was Bedros Cooley, and I went out to one of his half-day mentorships recently, and I gave him my presentation that I did. He says, "Man, time management. I get it, but you're not an entrepreneur. You're saying words like you're this businessman." He goes, "What would you say?" I said, "Well, that's easy, Bedros. I'd say guarding my time, because I'm about guarding stuff." He goes, "Then use that." So guarding my time. I'm wasting time. Remember I told you it's the most precious commodity we have. I want to be efficient with my time. I'm learning how to be efficient. I'm efficient in battle.
Yeah.
Why not? I'm efficient with my family. Why not be efficient with finance? So I do. When I go to the gym, I've got a bunch of different audios and audiobooks. I'm listening to them.
What are two of your favorite right now, or two that you've read that you enjoy that you'd recommend to others? 2 different books.
So again, not a plug. Sorry, I know I'm here, but
plug away.
Bedros's Man Up book. I love it because, and I love that it says it cuts out the bullshit to be an entrepreneur. I saw that, and I was like, cuts out the bullshit. I love it. And then I always try to read a SEAL book, just because I'm learning about leadership too.
Okay.
And obviously that's going to be Jason Redman that tried it. I don't have that on audio, but Jason Redman is one of my best friends, and they're my 2 go-to books right now. Where if I'm doing a seminar and I'm going to do leadership, or what I love about this is the individuals that I've talked about have been where I am, and I want to be where they are. So it's just a fit, Again,
Is that usually what you seek when you look for
Yes.
mentors? Like a lot of people watching this, they might not have a mentor or ever been open to it. And you're talking someone that has been to battle,
Yes.
physical, real battle. And you're
Ex-
saying, I've got mentors.
I have.
So that's
mentors.
a great message, I
It
feel
is a
like.
great message, And
What do you have to say to people that don't believe in mentors or they've been closed to it? Like
I would
maybe
say you
sometime-
need to do what I did. You need to open up the doors, and you need to I'm telling you, once you do, and become a sponge. That's one of the things I talk about. Become a sponge, because these people that are successful, they don't mind giving out the knowledge.
Yeah.
They don't. Whether you have to pay for it, I don't care. I'll pay for it. I want to know. Because the thing is think about it. They've already gone through the stuff that I'm going through, so they know. Why on earth would I waste time trying to do exactly what someone else has already done? Get a better social platform for social media? I'll talk to Brad.
Yeah.
We've been talking. It's like, instead of trying to piecemeal this stuff together, literally, he answered 10 of my questions in 2 seconds. He was like, you got to do this. And I'm
What do
like,
you think stops people from? Oh, talk through your
Two
Who
things.
were you that stopped you?
One was my pride, and 2, I'm not going to lie to you, it was my fear. And it's funny what people can get comfortable with. I'm comfortable with kicking in doors overseas. Some people are comfortable doing $1 million deals. The thing that I'm uncomfortable with is making that transition and failing my family. And like I said, Brad told me, he goes, "That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard." That's what he told me. He looked me right in the eyes, and I just wanted to, ugh. And I was like, he was like, "You go overseas, you defend our country, you do this, now you're doing the public speaking, you're doing this, you've already started to make the leap. You just got to leap a little farther." And you know what? Financially, I'm actually doing better. But we go through life, and we all have safety nets. For me, I can always fall back to A, B, C, D. And Brad's like, "No, I'm 46 years old. I want to spend more time with my family, and I want to make more money." So now I've taken the leap. It's scary, but it's working. Because I'm listening to people who have done the same thing.
You're
You know?
following Conquer.
Oh God, I
Following the
that's-
values.
The best advice I can tell people is when you come up with a motto and you come up with something like Conquer, it's only going to work if you believe in it. So for the longest time, you know, I had the Conquer mindset, but did I really? Because I was scared to take the chance. Once I mastered me, you know, with all my pillars, the mental, physical, emotion, then it's like, it's not as bad. You know, I skydive all the time. People are like, you're insane. It's like taking that first
Like
leap.
physically skydiving.
Physically skydiving.
Does
It's
that-
exhilarating. I
What
love
does
it.
that have to do with the repetition? Is that the last one?
The
'Cause I know
repetition
you already
is
drilled this in my
yeah.
mind.
The repetition is all the things that we talked about. Those 6 other things that we talked about: the time management, the guarding your time, the obligation. You know, quit. We do that to educate. We turn around tomorrow. Remember, I said be great today, and we do it again tomorrow, and we do it again and again. We don't rest. You know, there's only one person that I know that ever rested on Sunday, and that's the man that made the earth. And it's okay, and I don't get religious. It's okay. I'm not him. I'm not going to rest. I'm like 7-Eleven. I'm open 365 days a year and 24 hours a day, man.
I feel like I want to conquer right now. I love it.
And the thing is everybody can. That's what's so great. It's so universal. And I'll tell you this: you pick an occupation. I've challenged every entrepreneur. You pick an occupation, and you can't apply that mindset to it. I'll pay you a lot of money because it works. I don't care who you are, from a plumber to one of my clients that I coach is a neurosurgeon. It doesn't matter.
Well, it's interesting you say that because this about 100 very successful people this year, and you included,
Yeah.
I've got to learn from, and I'm just thinking of a C, an O, an N, a Q, and like all those interviews, little things. Like I said, that gentleman Frank.
Yeah.
I forget, we were sitting about this far from each other, and he every morning he slaps the mirror and says, "I'm great."
I love it.
And the guy's doing
Notre
1,200
Dame
cars.
does the same thing.
Yeah,
I
so
love it.
like
Love
there's
it.
a lot of patterns. Now I'm curious. Now it's been you were serving full time for many years, and you're still engaged. But what is this entrepreneurial endeavor look like for you? When did you start entrepreneurial businesses? Was it the last few years? And
Last
then
few years, yeah.
what is your biggest goal for 2019? Because we're almost a month in it.
So are we talking from a financial standpoint, or are we talking actually just
Some
goals
of the
that I want-
big goals that are on your
some
list.
of the big goals that I want you to
Your list. Yeah.
So I've just launched a few of my. I'm building a range right now in Texas, Mission Critical TX. My goal was to have that to be one of the premier shooting facilities in the country. In the country, I mean, bar none.
So you're building his range out.
It is. It's pretty much already built out.
Okay.
We're operational in March. We're doing things that no one else is doing. We're opening up to civilians, law enforcement, and military. 1,800.
Wow.
Excuse me, 2,500 acres. We have 1,000 acres already put together, and it's beautiful. So that's my goal. I'm running that. I want to start launching my fitness camps, my SEAL camps. I've worked with the best in the business for the last probably 6 years. I'm one of the best instructors. I'll toot my own horn. SEAL instructors out there. I work with anything from kids all the way up to, I've got like 6 NFL football pros. One of the pros sent me a jersey yesterday. I work with them. It's not just about the physical, it's the mental. You know, I teach them the conquer mindset.
So at these camps, people will be able to learn the conquer mindset.
They
and
learn
go
the
through
conquer
physical training.
mindsets. I'll have people like, I'll have other entrepreneurs and leaders come out there. My thing is I'm developing these packages where I can bring, whether it's kids, whether it's entrepreneurs, it doesn't matter who it is. I can make you a better person from the inside out. That's what it's about. I can make you healthier. I can make you mentally stronger. I can make you physically stronger. You know, I can do what you need. If we even can bring in spiritual experts like Greg Admonson, who I know, who's one of the founders of CrossFit. He's a very good friend of mine. He works on more of the spiritual side, and I don't mean the religious. I mean more of the meditation and the great drills. And I was against it for the longest time. I love it. I love it.
It's really powerful. I'm thinking of one of your values. I think it's O, about who you surround yourself with.
Obligate.
Obligation,
Yeah,
right?
the obligation. Yeah, trimming the fat. Yes, sir.
You have a serious network.
I have yes, and I love it. You know, I don't
It's
know
a
how I
direct
got
result of the time and the
Yes.
everything that you preach. I believe you practice just from listening to you.
People tell me I'm magnetic. They draw to me because I'm passionate. You know, like when I'm, you know, it's funny when I first met some of these, I'm like, Brad, he's guilty. He's the one. He's talking to me, and I've literally got a cell phone right here, and I'm texting right this close, and he's literally, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm writing notes. He was like, what? I'm like, yeah. And he was like, you could just hit the record button.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
So, but I'm just texting. So now I'll pull my phone there and I'm like, play. I'm like, hey, here we go. And I'm learning from people, man. That's what's
How can people contact you to learn from you, to get into your network, to develop themselves, to conquer life? What's the easiest way to contact you?
Frogmindset.com. As soon as you go there, you can become part of the Frog family.
Okay.
I'm not even here to sell swag, but join the email list. I put out all kinds of content. If you're interested in the range, that's missioncriticaltx.com.
Your Instagram?
Instagram's at Ray Cash Care.
Okay. My last question.
Okay.
We're going back all the way. It's that week before you enlisted.
Okay.
Like way before Buds and all that.
Okay.
Knowing what you know now, 20 plus years later, if you had a 1 minute conversation with yourself, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself to never stop believing in myself, because I am the true definition of self-made. Now, self-made doesn't always have to be like this. I am self-made mentally. I would tell myself that if you set your mind to anything, there are no limits. I don't believe in limits. No, I have a thing. I say limits are for losers. I don't believe in them, and I would just say, you know what? Take that step. Take that plunge, man, because you're always scared. Is the water hot? Is it cold? Is it deep enough? Dive in, man. Dive in and attack life. That's what I would tell myself.
This is awesome.
Thank you, sir.
I could talk to you all day.
All right.
Here at Lightspeed VT with Ray Cash, Jay Doran, I want to thank you, brother. This was amazing, and I look forward to next time being able to pick your mind.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor.